زادك الأيام فتى.
Al-Imam Al-Qarafi rahimahullah, he said in his book Al-Furuq, Imam Al-Qarafi said in his book Al-Furuq a statement that shows us the benefit of this field. He says rahimahullah, he said وَقَوَاعِدُ الْفِقِّ عَظِيمَةُ النَّفْعِ وَبِقَدْرِ الْإِحَاطَةِ بِهَا يَعْظُمُ قَدْرُ الْفَقِيهِ. He said قَوَاعِدُ الْفِقْ is عَظِيمَةُ النَّفْعِ. Its benefits are vast. وَبِقَدْرِ الْإِحَاطَةِ بِهَا, and according to how the person encompasses it or understands it or takes it in, يَعْظُمُ قَدْرَ الْفَقِيهِ, your level of being a faqih also goes up. So however much of Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah you understand is in accordance to how much of a faqih you are. You see? وَتَتَّضِحُ لَهُ مَنَاهِجُ الْفَتْوَى, and it becomes clear to the person the methodologies of fatwa, the ways to do fatwa. Also, وَمَنْ أَخَذَ الْفُرُوعَ الْجُزْئِيَّةَ دُونَ الْقَوَاعِدِ الْكُلِّيَّةِ تَنَاقَضَتْ عَلَيْهِ تِلْكَ الْفُرُوعُ وَاضْطَرَبَتْ. Anybody who studies the furu' are fiqh. The person doesn't study Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah, he just goes directly to fiqh books and he studies yajuz, la yajuz. He said anyone who just does that, he goes to furu', the sub-branches, the fiqh. Al-Juz'iyyah, dun al-Qawaa'id al-Kulliyah, and he doesn't go back to the comprehensive maximums, which are the Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah. He doesn't go back to them. تَنَاقَضَتْ عَلَيْهِ تِلْكَ الْفُرُوعِ. You're going to contradict yourselves in the furu'. Why? Because tomorrow you're going to affirm something and the next day you're going to negate something that's like it. That has a ishtibah, that looks like it. The same thing, different wording, just different name, you're going to say. So you're going to be contradicting yourself. Yesterday you affirmed this with this qa'idah, how are you going to negate it with this qa'idah? How? Tanaqudat start occurring because you don't have usul al-qawa'id. You see? ومن أخذ الفروع الجزئية دون القواعد الكلية تناقضت عليه تلك الفروع واضطربت. You become a contradicting person. وقد تتعارض ظواهرها. And sometimes what happens? It may come to you as a ta'arud. They may oppose each other from the apparent. وأما, as for the person, من ضبط فقه وبقواعده, anyone who masters, who solidifies, you see, the fiqh with his qawa'id. Are you with me? فإنه يستغني عن ضبط أكثر الجزئيات لاندراجها في الكليات. You will be sufficed from what? You would be sufficed from having to not need to master every single branch. Are you with me? You don't have to study every single fiqh matter. If you have the qawa'id, whenever you hear that fiqh issue, look, you throw it under what? You will throw it under the qawa'id al-kulliyah. It will fall under it for you automatically. We're going to see examples inshallah as we come along. وَتَنَاسَبَ عِنْدَهُ مَا تَضَارَبَ عِنْدَ غَيْرِهِ, and it becomes sensible and it becomes understandable for him that which is hard for other people, or that's contradicting, or it seems complicated to others, it seems clear to him. This is a powerful statement from that great noble Shaykh. Now inshallah ta'ala I'm going to speak about the tarikh, the history in which Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah took. First of all, we need to understand Allah has blessed us with a prophet, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Our messenger, Allah gave him jawami' al-kalim. Our prophet had comprehensive words, speech. What does jawami' al-kalim means? أن يتكلم النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم بكلام قليل. The prophet would speak. He would speak speeches which were little in construction, but it has what? الذي يكون له معان عديدة, but it has a lot of meanings in it. You see, ويشتمل أحكاما متعددة, and it has in it a lot of rulings. The messenger will say something and it would have a lot of meanings in it, such as the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, لا ضرر ولا ضرار, which we're going to take later inshallah ta'ala. إنما الأعمال بالنيات. Statements like that, which we're going to take them, don't worry, we're going to come to them. The Prophet said لا ضرر ولا ضرار, إنما الأعمال بالنيات, very small in its construction. But when we take later النية شرط للسائر العمل بها الصلاح والفساد للعمل, we're going to take maybe 45 minutes of explanation on it. Why? Because it has so much under it. It's qa'idah. It's a principle. So the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he placed alayhi salatu wasalam principles like that. He placed it. Na'am. Like for example, the Prophet ﷺ said, Al-yaminu ala man ankar, al-bayyinatu ala al-mudda'i. These are qawaa'id. But the Prophet said them, alayhi salatu wasalam. But the Sahabas who came after also, they did the same. Like the hadith Imam al-Bukhari, he narrated in his Sahih, mu'allaqan. And we all should know what mu'allaq means, which is Bukhari did not mention his sanad, his chain of shaykh, his shuyukhs. That Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah, Umar ibn Khattab radiyallahu, he said, maqati'ul huquq inda shurut. That's a qa'idah we're going to take inshallah ta'ala later. All of these are what? Even that the Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala, he narrated it mu'allaqan. Abdul-Razak ibn Hammam al-San'ani, he narrated the athar, the statement of Umar ibn Khattab, bisanadin jayyidin, a train of narration which is good. But until that point, the messenger saying it and the Sahaba saying it, this field was not, it wasn't written in books and it wasn't placed. So what occurred was asru tadween, the era of authoring and writing down came into place. That these qawaa'id that the Prophet said alayhi salatu wasalam, and these qawaa'id that the Sahaba said and the tabi'een after that said, they had to be written and they had to be placed in books. And they realized that the fiqh cannot be understood unless these qawaa'id are what? Are placed. As I mentioned, the statement of who? The statement of Al-Imam Al-Qarafi rahimahullah ta'ala in his kitab Al-Furuq. From the early people who authored in this field is Abu Hassan Al-Karji, Abu Hassan Al-Karhi rahimahullah. Abu Hassan Al-Karhi rahimahullah, who died the year 340. He was from the early people who wrote it. His book, which is known as Al-Usul Al-Karhi, he wrote it. After him came Al-Allama Abu Tahir Al-Dabbas Al-Hanafi rahimahullah. He came and he authored it. He wrote a book called he called it Ta'sis al-Nadar. He called it Ta'sis al-Nadar. Al-Shaykh al-Bassam rahimahullah, he placed Al-Karhi he placed Abu Tahir al-Dabbas before Al-Karhi rahimahullah. He placed him so there you find that there wasn't accuracy in who came first. In his book Usul al-Karhi rahimahullah, Imam al-Karhi rahimahullah, in his Usul, he mentions Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah a lot and a very good portion of them. He organized them very well. Even that though the majority of the qawaa'id in which he mentions are qawaa'id khilafiyah. They are qawaa'id which are disputed between Imam Abu Hanifa and his own Bain Abi Hanifa rahimahullah, and between his own other three madhabs, or from the three other madahibs, such as Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i, he mentions, and Imam Ahmed. Why is the reason that the Hanafis were the first to write it? And how did they become the first to write it? Because we know Usul al-Fiqh, the first person who wrote it was Imam Shafi'i. Usul al-Fiqh, the first person who wrote it was Imam Shafi'i. وأول من ألف في الكتب محمد بن الشافعي المطلبي وغيره كان له سليقة مثل الذي للعرب من خليقة. And Imam Shafi'i was the first one to write it. Rahimahullah, as Imam al-Iraqi, Imam al-Maraqi al-Su'ud, he mentions in his Nadhm. The Sahib al-Maraqi, he mentions in his Nadhm. So the reason why the Hanafiya were the first ones to write it is because in Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah is because the way in which the Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah is written is different ways. Is in different ways. One way is, there's two methodologies that are taken in writing Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah, and the Hanafis, they took one and they went against the Jumhur, the majority. The ulama, the Malikiyya and the Shafi'iyya and the manhaj is called the manhaj jumhur al-ulama. This one's called, it's called تقرير القواعد بناء على الأدلة بغض النظر عن الفروع. That the قواعد الفقهية is based upon the evidence without looking at the furu', without looking at the juz'iyat, the sub-branches that come out of it. The qa'idah is directly taken from the evidence. Are you with me? It's taken from the evidence. So it's based on the evidence. Without looking at the sub-branches. Without looking at the sub-branch, without looking at the furu'. And that's called manhaj jumhur al-ulama. And that's why the Malikiyya, the Shafi'iyya and the Hanabila. And that's why that you would a lot of times find that this is qawl al-jumhur and the qawl of the Hanafiyya, because the usul is different. The asl, the qa'idah that they're picking up, the way they did it is different. The manhaj al-thani, or the second methodology, is the manhaj al-ta'sil al-qawaa'id al-usuliyya. And the qawaa'id al-fiqhiyyah is based on what? من الخلال الفروع الفقهية. It's taken from the fiqh branches. Are you with me? Like for example, they will look at each issue, they will look at the branches, the fiqhiyat mas'ala, the furu', the fara'. And then when they get the fara' together, then they will bring a qa'idah out of it. And that is manhaj al-Hanafiyya. You see? You see? Inshallah ta'ala, now we're going to go into bi'idhnillah al-kareem. So that's why the usul al-fiqh, the manhaj or the methodology of the Hanafis were the first to precede the Jumhur in terms of writing Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah. They beat them to it first. Here is, we're going to inshallah ta'ala take a bit about the books that are written in Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah, have some understanding of it. So it can be easier for us, because this is the tariq on how it was written and how they authored it, the scholars, the manhaj in which they took. So inshallah ta'ala, now we're going to look at, inshallah, the books which are written in Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah, and we're going to divide them in different ways. The first way we're going to categorize them is looking at it بحسب عنوان تلك الكتب. We're going to look at it in terms of the names of the titles. Are you with me? How the scholars, they titled Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah. The way they titled it is in three ways. This is على سبيل التمثيل لا على سبيل الحصر. It's just an example, not all of it. It can be out more than this, but mainly these are the three main ones. The first one is that they called it what? Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. They called it Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. That is the first one of how they authored the Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah. They called it Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. What does Ashbah and Nadha'ir mean? And then I'll tell you who wrote those books and they called it that. Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir means, the word Al-Ashbah means what? Ashbah means when masail, they look like each other from many different faces. This mas'ala looks like this mas'ala from different faces. Min wujuh muta'addida, from different faces. From this angle, from this angle, from this angle, from this angle, from this angle. This is called what? Ashbah. Nadha'ir means when they look like each other only from one face, or from one angle only. It's called what? Nadha'ir. The scholars that writ it is Ibn Wakil al-Shafi'i rahimahullah. Ibn Wakil al-Shafi'i wrote a book called Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. As-Suyuti, he wrote a book called Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. Ibn Nujaym al-Hanafi, he wrote a book called Al-Ashbah wal-Nadha'ir. And as you were, Ibn Nujaym is al-Hanafi. Ibn Nujaym is al-Hanafi. He benefited from Suyuti's methodology. Ibn Nujaym al-Hanafi, he took from the methodology that Suyuti rahimahullah took. These books right now are they are books that are of what? They are like al-ghaz, they are like riddles. A lot of them are very mind-opening, and it's very, very. Imam al-Suyuti rahimahullah, he started with Al-Qawaa'id Al-Kubra, which we're going to speak about later inshallah ta'ala, which are known, they're called the Qawaa'id Al-Kubra, the 5 agreed upon Qawaa'id. The 5 agreed upon Qawaa'id by all the madhahibs. They start with that, and then once they mention the 5 Qawaa'id Al-Kubra, Suyuti mentions those 5, Imam Suyuti rahimahullah, and then after that he mentions the other qawaa'id which are disputed, al-mukhtalafu fi. So the first one is called the qawaa'id which are mujma'un alayh, which are agreed upon, which are these 5. And then he mentions after that the ones that are different and disputed on. The second name is, in which it's written, is al-furuq. Furuq. And furuq means differences. Differences. Are you with me? Al-ashbah wal-nadha'ir was similarities, right? Al-furuq is like what? Differences. And the scholars that wrote this is As-Samuriyu Al-Hanbali. As-Samuriyu Al-Hanbali. Also Ibn Sunaynah. Ibn Sunaynah, he has a book called Al-Mustaw'ab. He also he has a book called Al-Mustaw'ab, but he has a book called Al-Furuq, rahimahullah. He wrote a book called Al-Furuq. Also Al-Qarafi, we just quoted right now. He has a book called what? He's a Maliki scholar. He's a Maliki scholar. He has a book called Al-Furuq, where he talks about differences. Also, Abi Muhammad Al-Juwayni, rahimahullah. Abi Muhammad Al-Juwayni. Abi Muhammad Al-Juwayni is the father of Abi Ma'ali Al-Juwayni. You know, the Sahib Al-Waraqat, his father is called Abu Muhammad Al-Juwayni. He wrote a book called Al-Furuq. He's a Shafi'i. Rahimahumullah, may Allah have mercy upon both of them. The third name that was given to Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah, the third name is Al-Qawaa'id. The name is called Al-Qawaa'id. They called it Al-Qawaa'id. Like Ibn Rajab Al-Hanbali, rahimahullah, he has a book on Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah, rahimahullah. He has a book on Al-Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah. And he called it Al-Qawaa'id. He called it Al-Qawaa'id. Also, the other scholars that have written it like that is one very good book which is called Al-Majmu' Al-Mudhab fi Qawaa'id Al-Madhab, written by Abu Sa'id Khalil ibn Kaykaldi rahimahullah al-Ala'i al-Shafi'i. Al-Ala'i rahimahullah, he wrote a book called Al-Majmu' Al-Mudhab fi Qawaa'id Al-Madhab. The previous publications, they used to be bad. Recently, I think it's either Qatar or Kuwait, one of them, the Wizaratul Awqaf, either Qatar or Kuwait, one of the two, they authored it. Very good, mashallah. Very good publication. Decent. That is the first categorization of Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah. The second type is what? تقسيم المؤلفات بحسب ترتيب القواعد. The second way we're going to categorize it is how the qa'idah is categorized. And I've already touched on it, which I shouldn't have, but is how the book is authored. So the second way, inshallah ta'ala, is how they authored their books. We're going to categorize it in that way, inshallah ta'ala. Anyone who looks at the books written in Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah would realize that they took different methodologies in how they organized their books. And they are not all of one methodology in the way they took in authoring in it. And so inshallah ta'ala, my aim is to talk about the types of methodologies that are taken. Some of them, what they did was, they took the most comprehensive qawaa'id. So the first one is what? They took the qawaa'id which are what? That are the most comprehensive, that the majority of the juz'iyat fall under. As much as it's comprehensive, they took that one. Such as the Qawaa'id Al-Kubra, which I mentioned, that just about enter every single field, every single bab, every chapter it will enter of fiqh. Any chapter you go to in fiqh, these 5 qawaa'id will enter it. You see, some scholars, they authored it like that. And the scholars that did that, as I mentioned to you, is Suyuti and Ibn Nujaym. They did it like that. They authored their book in making sure they speak about the Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah Al-Kubra. They mentioned that, and then after that they mentioned the Qawaa'id Al-Khilafiyyah. Does that make sense? That was one way. The second manhaj is, the second methodology is, they wrote it in by the first letter. They wrote it in the first letter. What do you mean alphabetical order? So anything that starts with alif, they started with that one. Ba came next. Like for example, al-umur bi-maqasidiha, al-umur. Umur is alif, right? They took that one. And then al-bayyinatu ala al-mudda'i, right? Starts with a ba, right? Bayyina. So they took that and they made it the second. And they authored it like that. From the scholars who did that is Imam Zarkashi, rahimahullah, Badruddin al-Zarkashi, rahimahullah, in his book Al-Manthur. In his book Al-Manthur, في ترتيب القواعد الفقهية. That's what he called it, and that's what he did. رحمه الله. The third one is scholars who took they took fiqh, they chaptered it like Kitab al-Tahara, Kitab al-Salah, they're like that. They chaptered it like fiqh. The third one is they done it according to the fiqh chapterings. So every qa'idah, for every chapter they mentioned it. And those are the manhaj that was taken by Al-Muqri Al-Maliki rahimahullah in his Al-Qawaa'id. Al-Muqarri Muhammad ibn Ahmad Al-Adib, he authored it in what? He authored it like that. And there are scholars who didn't author their book on any organization. They just wrote it without any tartib. And that is like Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali's book. He called it Taqreer al-Qawaa'id wa Tahrir al-Fawaa'id. There's no sequence or order for it. There's no order or sequence for it. Also, categorization, the third type of categorization, inshallah ta'ala, is the قواعد الفقهية من جهة الشمول ومن عدمه, which is authoring the book in terms of how comprehensive it is and how it's not comprehensive. And what it means by here is, some scholars, what they did was they only stuck to Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah. They didn't speak about anything else. They didn't move and leap to other things. What else could they have leaped to? They could have leaped to Qawaa'id Al-Usuliyah. They could have mentioned that. They only stuck to Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah. And they don't mention anything other than these Qawaa'id Al-Fiqhiyyah, such as the Ashbah Al-Nadha'ir written by Ibn Nujaym rahimahullah. And there are those who writ Qawaa'id al-Usuliyah with Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah, both. They mixed it all together up. And they are like Al-Imam Al-Qarafi in his book Al-Furuq. If you go to Al-Furuq, you find Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah and Qawaa'id al-Usuliyah both present. And also Abu Tahir Ad-Dabbas rahimahullah, Ad-Dabusi, sorry. Ad-Dabusi rahimahullah, he wrote it in what? He wrote it in what? He wrote it in that order. He wrote it in Usul al-Fiqh, Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah and Qawaa'id al-Usuliyah. His book Ta'sis al-Nadar. Now that we've said Qawaa'id al-Fiqhiyyah and we said Qawaa'id al-Usuliyah, what is the difference between the two? So the question here is, ما الفرق بين القاعدة الفقهية and قاعدة الأصولية? What's the difference between the two? The difference, inshallah ta'ala, is as follows. Number one, the قاعدة الأصولية توجد أولا, it's found first. The قاعدة الأصولية is found first. ثم يستخرج الحكم الفقهي, and then after that, the hukum of the Shari'ah is then extracted from it. Are you with me? Are you guys there? Mm-hmm. So we write, first of all, the Qa'idatul Usuliyah is there. Then the hukum of the Shari'ah, the fiqh hukum, the ruling. Are you with me? The hukum will come out from it. Are you guys with me? After the hukum is found, are you with me? Are you guys with me? After the hukum is found, all of those who have some things in common are brought together, and then Qawa'id al-Fiqh comes out from that. It comes out from the hukum. After, so it goes through those three processes. So it's Qa'idatul Usuliyah, then the hukum fiqhi, and then the Qa'idatul Fiqhiyyah. Qa'idatul Fiqhiyyah is from the hukum fiqhi. It comes out from the hukum fiqhi. That's the difference. That's the first difference. But that's very hard for a student of knowledge who's a beginner. Are you with me? The easy one is the second farq. The second one is, and it's the easiest one, which is Al-Qa'idatul Usuliyah لا يمكن أن يؤخذ منها الحكم الفقهي. Qa'idatul Usuliyah, that's here, you can't take a hukum shara', you can't take a ruling out of it. For example, a Qa'idatul Usuliyah would be like Al-Amru lil-Wujub. A command shows wujub. can you take a hukm fiqhi out of this? Straight away, directly from it. You can't take it from it directly. By just looking at what? By looking at the qa'idatul usuliyah. You can't take a hukm fiqhi out of it directly, straight away. You can't. For example, al-amru lil-wujub, as I said. Can we take from it every action whatsoever that is wajib? You can't take it out of it. Directly you can't. There has to be the hukm fiqhi has to be mentioned next to it. When you say al-amru lil-wujub, then you say, for example, wa aqimu as-salah, establish the prayer. Whereas the qa'idatul fiqhiyyah, you can take the hukm fiqhi out of it directly. Al-umuru bi maqasidiha, straight away you can take a hukm out of it and say everything is what's intended. Al-umuru bi maqasidiha. So the qa'idatul fiqhiyyah, you take the hukm fiqhi out of it. The qa'idatul fiqhiyyah, you take the hukm out of it mubasharatan, directly. You take out of it the hukm out of it mubasharatan, directly. As I said, al-umuru bi maqasidiha. For here you realize straight away that what? It's like the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, directly you took the hukm out of it. Are you with me? Does that make sense? Naam. And the niyyah wajibatu lis-salati wal-wudu. Now straight away you took from it that the wujub, that the niyyah is obligatory. That for what? Naam. That's a qa'idatul fiqhiyyah. We took the ruling from this al-umuru bi maqasidiha. We took it from it directly. We're going to take what does it mean, al-umuru bi maqasidiha? Now that we've said that, there's still a question that still arises, which is, we've distinguished between qa'idatul usuliyah and qa'idatul fiqhiyyah. We distinguish between the two. Not a problem. But all that which we have mentioned, dhabit is still not clear, because dhabit is also something you can take the hukm out of it directly. So what's the difference between qa'idatul fiqhiyyah and a dhabit then? That's the question that arises. The scholars, they say there are two apparent differences. The first one is that the qa'idatul fiqhiyyah, it enters many chapters. For example, the al-umuru bi maqasidiha, it enters salah, it enters tahara, it enters bay', it enters jinayat, it enters any chapter of fiqh you go, it will enter it. You with me? If you look at, for example, the salah, the intention of the salah is an obligatory. You have to, if you're praying dhuhr, which is 4, and asr, which is 4, the intention is what determines it. Are you with me? It enters what? It also enters bay'. When we took bay', I remember when we spoke about al-buyu' al-manhiyu anha shar'an, we mentioned that al-buyu' that the intention is mu'tabar. It's considered. If the person didn't want to sell this to you, the bay' is fasid. Fasid al-i'tibar. If the person didn't want to sell it, you're forcing him to it. The bay' doesn't have it. Al-jinaya. Jinaya means you've killed a person. The intention is looked into. Did you deliberately or not? And based on those two, a hukm comes out of it. So look how many chapters that the qa'idatul fiqhiyyah entered, whereas the dhabit only enters one chapter. It only enters what? It only enters a chapter. It doesn't go outside that chapter. It only enters what? One chapter. For example, the qa'idatun kullu zawjin yula'an. That will only enter what? It enters a babun wa'idun, a particular chapter, and it doesn't go into another chapter. It's matters pertaining to marriage, nikah and zawaj. It goes into bab al-li'an. In nikah, bab al-li'an. You can't take it to bab al-buyu'. You can't use it. This is called dhabit. It's called a dhabit. So, inshallah ta'ala, without any further ado, I think we've, inshallah ta'ala, have an understanding. We shall now go into the book.